Hey everybody, this is Oliver Joyce and welcome to the new look Whiskeybarrel Studios as unveiled in the Ask Me Anything Part 1. The desk has been flipped around. This is a huge change for me. So in case you missed it a few days ago, we did the first part of the answers to Ask Me Anything 8, and I thank you for all those questions. Let's get on with the next batch and see what other fun stories we can come up with, and answers and random tangents, and probably music. You're probably going to get some music. I can feel it in my bones. All right, this question is from Kotor HD TV channel. Hey Oliver, long time no see. Hey Kotor, how are you? My friend, the Knights of the Old Republic. I believe there's actually a new Knights of the Old Republic game coming. That's exciting. I love that original one. He asks, if you were forced by any chance to change careers, what would it be and why? Assuming that you would start your new career with what you currently have now, family, friends, income, etc. That's a really good question. Is there any more to that? Take care and good luck with the new game and other projects. Thank you, my friend. Well, funny you mentioned new career because it's time for music. I would love to be in music production. I would love to learn the craft of how to put together tracks. I'm just sort of fascinated by music production and layering songs together and adding instruments and changing, just the dynamics of a song and mixing stuff together. That would be my dream. If I was ever wealthy enough, to basically work independently and do whatever I want. Other than making games, I'm pretty fortunate right now to be in this position to be making games. But I would love to be in music production. I'd love to have a little studio, with the soundproofing on the walls and the wooden panels and guitars and drums and all that kind of stuff. And just figuring out all that sort of stuff. I'd love to learn things like music production software and Cubase and all that kind of stuff, and just make my own music, because I feel like music is the key to everything. And I spend my whole day listening to music, and every now and again I'm playing it pretty badly, but fun. It's fun. That would be it. Music would be what I'm into. Thank you for the question. That was fun. I promise that'll be it for the day with the music, unless I feel more inspired later. Just David asks, will there be an alignment system in Immortals? If so, is it going to be like, if you kill an evil person, you gain alignment, kill a good person, you lose alignment, that sort of thing? Yeah, it pretty much is. It's going to be as simple as that, really. The idea is basically, in Swords and Sandals 3, the more people you killed, the more evil you became, and vice versa, the more people you spared. After a battle, you basically have thumbs up and thumbs down, that kind of thing. And if you kill people, your alignment shifts to evil. In this game, it will be basically like that. And when you're evil, you have access to certain powers. Like if you're fighting another evil character, you'll be able to heal yourself. If you're fighting another good character, you'll be able to do sort of unholy damage to them. And there'll be certain armor and weapons that you can only wear if you're holy or unholy, that kind of thing. And I think with this game, I might be able to add some cool particle effects when you become quite evil or quite good, sort of holy aura around you, or sort of evil embers of, fire and brimstone, that kind of thing. But, any more complicated than that would sort of risk, turning the game into something more complicated than it's not, because there's already so much in this game as it is that I have to draw the line somewhere. But yeah, alignment should be in the game. Costas Maragoulias, sorry if I've mispronounced your name, asks, will the size of the weapon affect our speed? In other words, will a larger weapon decrease our speed when used, or you just add a bit more weight like armor does? Well, I don't know. Speed's it because it's since this is a turn-based game, how does speed affect us anyway? Is it a value that determines dodging, movement speed, and chance to hit? Yeah, it kind of is. So speed, I can't remember exactly, but it affects how far you can move in any particular turn, how high and how far you can jump, and your agility, basically your speed, your agility also determines how much you can dodge ranged weapons. Attack and defense stats are for melee weapons, but agility are for how dodging things. It kind of makes sense, even though it also makes sense for melee as well. But size of weapon doesn't affect the speed of it at this point, because it's just a little too hard to explain. That remains to be seen whether I'll change that. The Encouragement Kids says, why in Sword and Sandals 2 did you make charisma so overpowered? I love that you did, by the way. I don't know. With a lot of these games, I don't balance them as well as I could. Honestly, I really could do a lot better in the balancing side of things. And I think it was just funny. I kind of found it funny to just go that, raw! But literally that was at least one button's thing that you'd spam opponents and make them do funny things, run backwards, run forwards, make them enraged and that kind of stuff. Charisma will be more in-depth in this game, and you'll have guitar-based attacks and the ability to change kind of the mood of the game as well. Because in this new game, you have a spirit bar, and the spirit bar ranges from like stressed through to inspired. And when you're fully inspired, become galvanized, which means, you're fully inspired, turn to sort of steel. And when you're fully stressed, you become desperate. I think it's going to be desperate. And when you're galvanized, you will be able to, every hit always hits, 100% chance of hit chance, like a full battle rage bar. But when you're desperate, you'll do critical hits every time. So it is kind of interesting. There is almost like a benefit in becoming so stressed. You get stressed by, the more your attacks miss, or the more people hurt you or break your armor. So it's kind of almost like when you're at the back in Mario Kart, you get a nice sort of bullet, that kind of thing. You're still probably a very good chance of dying because you're so stressed, and your chance to hit goes down when you're stressed as well. But how charisma plays into that is that you can affect the mood by, calming yourself with certain sort of guitar sounds or mantras through your, taunts and that kind of stuff like that. So it'll be more than just yelling, rah! Although that is in the game too. The Lone Wanderer 318 asks, you ever thought about expanding your game development company, making Sword and Sandals available in different consoles like PlayStation, or keep it indie and make it yourself? Well, there's a reply there. Okay, we'll find out about it. My first answer is, actually, no, let's read this. It comes down to finance, hiring people, renting an office, software costs, hardware costs. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Oliver expand his business. Immortals needs to do super well for that to be a possibility. That's from Evan Basham. Evan is right. It really does come down to finances. And, I am making enough from this game to be able to support myself and my wife and 2 kids. She has an income as well. But it's kind of like it's balanced. We're okay now, but if this game doesn't do well, then I got to go out and get a job again, like everyone else. So, boo-hoo. That, it's been a privilege, an absolute privilege to be in this position, to be able to make these games for the last sort of year. It's been a year since I've been doing this full time. Wow, it's awesome. Expanding Whiskeybarrel Studios would only come from a real hit. Like, we're talking, 3 or 4 times more sales than what I'm on now, at least. So it'll be cool though to have a full-time artist and maybe another developer, and have an office that's bigger than current Whiskeybarrel Studios, which is this little room in my house. It would be great. You never know. Life is a long time, and the fortunes of a company can rise and fall. But for now, I'm keeping it very small, and that's how we can operate. Haro asks, hello, Ollie, here's my questions. Hello, Haro. Haro. How many classes are there going to be in Swords and Sandals Immortals, and how are they going to differ? Classes are a funny thing because they're almost, you don't choose them. Oh, actually, no, you do. There are classes I've forgotten. I think there's 8. I think there's warrior, barbarian, wizard, rogue, cleric, that kind of thing. I've forgotten exactly it, but all they really affect, they have, in Sword and Sandals 5, it's very similar to this. You have a starting unique skill that no one else has, and you have some other kind of passive talent that no one else has. So each one will have one of those, a paladin might be able to heal themselves once per battle and have a bonus against fighting unholy people, but may not be evil. So you'll have a couple of things, but you then determine the rest of the game by yourself. So you might decide in the beginning, I'm going to be a wizard, but just to get the special arcane bolt ability, whatever it is. But then you might spend the rest of the game focusing on your two-hand fighting, that kind of thing. Still got to flesh that out because classes aren't in the game just yet. Thanks for reminding me, though. Encouragement kid again. Hey, how did you come up with all the inspirational quotes for each time the character levels up? And the answer, someone asked that. Jacob asks, great question. I also wonder this. Most of them I didn't come up with. I wish I did, but much greater minds than me have. There, these. If you actually, even if you type in inspirational quotes to Google, you probably find a lot of the ones from Sword and Sandal. Many of them are from great philosophers like Sun Tzu and Aristotle, Plato, even Nietzsche, and different people like that, and great figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Joan of Arc, that kind of thing. Joan. I don't know why I've been saying Joan, because I think I've been saying names of the J and Y. Anyway, most of them are from that. There's a couple from the little fat kid that I made up though. Mostly his food-related quotes. Soreo asks, which games did you play the most before thinking about doing Sword and Sandal Saga? Yes, many games. What's the most inspirational for it? Probably like your sort of books, fighting fantasy books, choose your own adventure books. They had a big influence on the series. There was an old game called Barbarian on the Amiga and Commodore 64 where it was two barbarians fighting in real time. I really liked this sort of the vibe of that. That was a huge influence on the series. What else? I mean, I guess so many games have had influence on the series, like He-Man cartoons, Astro Boy, Ultima, but mainly these books, these game books, had a huge influence on the series, because before Sword and Sandals, I can't really think of any sort of like turn-based side-on fighting games like that. There probably were ones, but I can't recall them off the top of my head. Yuri asks, you mentioned that in Immortals we have to travel to many places and cities. Will you have to roam like Sword and Sandals 5 underground and travel on a journey? Or will you tell it by clicking to another location hub? Is it even decided yet? If you're putting this in the game, well, not yet. Basically, the map is going to be like the map from Sword and Sandals Crusader, a bigger version with more detail, and you'll be able to see routes and cities and roads. You'll be, say, in Shackleford, and then you'll have like a route north and a route south, and you'll see them animated moving along the map to the next city. And then there'll be kind of little points of interest on the map, which might be a little dot in between, that kind of thing. Much like sort of if you've ever played role-playing games like Pathfinder, Kingmaker, and that kind of thing. You basically travel on the overland map and it automatically moves, and then you might have a little story. A little bit, almost like a super simple version of the Swords and Sandals 4 Tavern Quest map. And then you'll see a picture of the city, like a sketch, and some text telling you about it. And then, visit arena, have adventure, that kind of thing. And then maybe even you can mine some stuff or, get some resources. Haven't figured that part out yet, because that is one of the things that does need a lot of focus, but I want to get the core gameplay done before I move over to that. But I'm really looking forward to that part of things. As I mentioned earlier, it might have been in the part 1 questions, there is not going to be a full-on Skyrim style open world map that you can actually walk around. No dungeon crawling for now, that kind of thing. If the game does really well, I'd love to bring a dungeon crawling expansion out though, because that's where it starts becoming like a full-on RPG, and I don't have the time yet to do that, because we're planning on getting the game out in a demo version in February for the Steam Next Festival, and then early access in April, and then hopefully the full release in 1 year's time, October next year. But you should be able to play it from February for a couple of weeks, then it goes off again, and you'll be able to play it properly in April. That's the plan. Cobson PG asks, will you consider adding a workshop to the games? Yeah, I like mods and so on. Potentially, for this one only, not for the other games. They're not moddable, unfortunately. The technology I built them with just made it impossible to mod. And would you like to make more upgrades to units in Crusader Redux? Not for that game, but if I ever did Crusader Redux 2, which I'd probably make more of a real-time strategy game like Warcraft 2 or something, I would love to have more units and that kind of thing. But unfortunately, for now, Crusader Redux is parked, and that's about as much as we'll see on that game. Morty asks, how old were you when you started creating Sword and Sandals? Good question. Well, the actual game itself came out in 2006. So let's do some maths. I was, was about 27 or something like that. Gosh, I can't remember now. Do some maths in my head. Yeah, about 27. So that's pretty old, really, because I'm old now. I'm 43 now, my friends. You can see the gray in my beard here. You zoom in. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So, but I first came up with the Sword and Sandals concept, and I was doing these games called like Arena of Death and these sort of text-based games when I was a kid. I came up with the idea of doing this when I was about 10 or 11. Made all these sort of storybooks with my good friend Greg Bernard Wee, and who was the inspiration for Sir Belgrave. And we came up with a world of Brandor and did Dungeons and Dragons adventures as kids and teenagers. All these stories and pictures and lore. If you get the classic collection on Steam, you can actually find a lot more of that sort of stuff. So go into the art galleries there if you're interested. A long time though. But yeah, the actual game was first released when I was about 27. You forget how old you are when you get old. Stay young. It's good to be young. Monkey Platts asks, you ever play Darkest Dungeon? Would you like to make a game like that in the future? Oh man, how about play Darkest Dungeon, Monkey? That's one of the games I kind of wish I'd made. And that's funny enough, this is going to sound kind of like of course, but I actually had that idea for Sword and Sandals 5. There was going to be a party-based side-on dungeon adventure like that. I didn't have the cool sort of systems they had in place for Inspired or Despondent, that kind of thing, and they've executed it so well. But I had that idea. It wasn't super close to that, but I wish I'd done that, and I kind of got pushed in a different direction as it's been documented in other versions of the series. But I love Darkest Dungeon, and I would love to do a Sword and Sandals team-based thing like that. Problem is that game's done now, and so it would be would be copying that, but they would never admit it, and it's probably it's probably a coincidence, but there are some systems in Darkest Dungeon that feel quite similar to Sword and Sandals, and it'd be nice to think in some ways my games might have inspired a little bit of theirs. I love Darkest Dungeon. I can't wait for Darkest Dungeon 2, and yeah, one day I'd love to make a game like that. It'd be hard to top Darkest Dungeon. Ilang Satya asks, got some questions for you to answer. Oh, okay. Yeah, 7 questions. Some interesting, some stupid. There are no stupid questions, or are there? Okay. Part 1. What's the relation between Luminescere and Tectonica? Both Hallium, great skill and magic. If there is one, I don't know. There's characters that are not really fleshed out at all. I know Tectonica is evil. Luminescere is not evil. And she is sort of one of the arch wizards from Archmagius. She's one of the head honchos. I think they wouldn't like each other, though. I got to flesh out. The lore is one of the things that suffered in the last few years, as I've been sort of trying to build the engine for this game and work out everything. I've been sort of abandoning a lot of that lore in the Sword and Sandals document. I need to get back and write some more, but it's just so time-consuming. How will multiple arena system in Immortals work? Will it be in the final game? Yeah, it'll be. There'll be over 25 arenas, each with their own sort of unique properties, like how hot it is. There might be you have to win battles in this arena in only 30 turns, or no ranged weapons, no magic, that kind of thing. How does the Enchantress look in Immortals? One of the shopkeepers. Yeah, she is one of the shopkeepers. I'm going to give you a little bit of trivia about her. She is from Eldor Hath, so she's very tall, wears black silk robes. She has sort of almost black purple skin with glowing purple eyes and sort of kind of blue hair. She's really cool, and she has this sort of beautiful white silk kind of scarf as well. I'm going to be revealing her before the end of the year too. Who are the weapons choose from the Tavern Owner? The same artist who drew the Immortals and Gravlax. Yeah, the same artist. All the artwork for the shopkeepers is done. I should start revealing them. We have a different weaponsmith than before. Thargan is, of course, the armor from Sword and Sandals 2, but he's now got like a cybernetic hammer arm and the cybernetic eye that you see. And I'm not sure if I've revealed the Tavern Owner, but yeah, he is it Gravlax? I can't remember. Yeah, he is Cycladian. Will there be more stories from characters in Northern Brandor. A lot of stuff happening in Central and Southern Brandor, but not much in the North. Only just balls all out from the Island Republic. And of course, Sewell's Gateway, which is the setting for Swords and Sandals 5. Yeah, there will be bits and pieces. You do go to the north and visit some of those cities, so hopefully I can have a few adventures and some cameos from gladiators in the past. Can we have jiggle physics in Immortals? I'll let you read the rest of that question. No, there is no jiggle physics in the game. Sorry to disappoint. What's the correct way to make Milo? Milo is a drink that you get overseas. In Australia, we have Milo. It's basically like a sort of a chocolate powder drink that is quite granular, quite grainy. What I like to do, put the Milo in, you boil some water, and then you kind of like dissolve it a bit, and then you pour the milk on top. If you put the milk in and the Milo, it just sits on the top, and it's not so good. Try Milo. It's pretty tasty. You're Australian, Elang. How do you know Milo? Prussian Lamage asks, will New Immortals have more fleshed out RPG elements? Swords and Sandals 5 had them, but they weren't fleshed out and had me longing for more. To be honest, I haven't been keeping up with development, but I just beat Swords and Sandals 5 for the second time and left a Steam review and listed out a list of things. Oh, I should look for your review sometime. Yeah, look, it probably... No, like that, you're probably waiting for Constellation Mirror for the more RPG elements. This is a more traditional combat game like Swords and Sandals 2. 5 was the most RPG-like of the games, but yeah, Constellation Mirror is more of like your Ultima style game because you can be pulled in one direction or another in these kind of games. And the more RPG I make it, the less time is focused on combat and the longer the development. But yeah, if I ever make Constellation Mirror, that's probably the game you're looking for. Custer says, I know you're working hard on Immortals, but I can't wait. But you ever make Tavern Quests for playable bosses? Did I not have that? You can play against them but not with them. Yeah. You can't play them. Yeah, the reason you can't play them is because I wasn't sure what to do with saving the characters after. It's probably not too hard to make them playable, though. I'll see about that for a future patch. Esquire asks, will Sword and Sandals 6 have a gear system like 2 or 3 and 4? More like 3. I mentioned that in part 1, so go back to part 1 for the answer on that. But there will be enchanted gear that you can enchant yourself, and there will also be sort of Diablo style, Bear's Axe of Kings, or Fire Axe of Wrath, that kind of thing. Stone God asks, is stamina removed like in 3 and 4? No, stamina is back. In Sword and Sandals 2, we have stamina, and it is in this one as well. And it has quite a big impact on things. So the heavier armor, the more stamina you use. Then you have stamina potions to heal you. And when you get tired, you can't jump. It has quite a big impact on the game. Kazis.lol lol says, are you the maker of the game? If so, yes, thank you very much, sir. Kazis, yeah. Thanks for being a fan. Thanks for the comment. Yeah, I am. I'm Oliver Joyce, and I've been making these games forever, as we determined earlier, when I was 27. So we're up to like 16 years of official Sword and Sandals, which is a long time. Getting old. Still young at heart. Yes, it is I, Lord Megatron. Megatron! I love Megatron. He's a badass. He's awesome. Oh, let me show you this. Lord Megatron. I don't have Megatron. But I have Skywarp as the Master Series of the Transformers. He's a cool... I always wanted the jets when I was a kid, and when I was a grown-up. Every time I... Here's a little story. Whenever I release a game, I always buy myself something fun, like usually a Lego set or something, but every now and again I'll buy a sort of a Transformer or something from the 80s. Just to kind of... Each one symbolizes... Hey, you got that game out. You completed something. And it's important to do that for yourself when you reach a big milestone on something, whether it's, going to the gym or, finishing a school assignment or getting a promotion at work. You should treat yourself. You got to look after yourself. Life should be fun. It's more than just saving money and, scribbling things away and working hard. That is important, but, it's every now and again, it's good to reward yourself. Sorry, what was the question, Megatron? Let me guess, will Antares be there? Because I know he always comes back. Yeah, he's going to be there in a cameo. Just a cameo. Not as the main bad guy. The Prince of Caviar asks, who is the best gladiator? The Nameless of Sword and Sandals 2, the Starbound Gladiator of Sword and Sandals 3, or the Companion of Sword and Sandals 5? Probably the Starbound Gladiator defeated the most powerful ones, because you defeated Ultralis Omega. The Companion had to fight the resurrected Antares, who was weakened, but he had to defeat sort of a few of the Guardians. The Nameless had to defeat Antares at, the peak of his powers, so it's hard to know. I'd say it'd probably be the Starbound Gladiator or the Nameless. What can you tell us about the Constellation Mirror? How's it look? Can it be used to travel away from Tritonia? It's one way. Can it be used to time travel? No. It's basically like a vertical circular mirror that if you look into it, you literally see constellations and stars. It's like looking into space, like looking into the night sky, but even more brilliant. And then every now and again, it sort of pulses with light, and then some crazy creature comes through. It opens every 50 years, that kind of thing. That constellation mirror is the central sort of feature of the world of Tritonia and the continent of Brandor, and it's on an island in a lake, and it will be at the heart of the Constellation Mirror role-playing game, which I so want to make. If I make enough money, I'd love to make it. Maybe I can kickstart it or something. What happened to Tectonica after the defeat of Antares? I don't remember. I don't know. It's never really clear. Maybe she comes back for this game. I should make her an arena champion. What do you tell us about Zir-Hath? Are there underground civilizations? Will we visit this place in Sword and Sandals 6? I think you sneak in there. I think there might be an arena down there for fun. It's basically like a huge underground series of caverns, and it's Zir-Hath translates in ancient precursor language to forbidden depths. And I actually bought a book called the Survivalist Guide to Spelunking, which has all sorts of things on dungeon crawling and the underworld and that kind of thing. And it has some cool ideas, and this has inspired me to make that a big part of Constellation Mirror and a little part of Sword and Sandals 6. So we will see, hopefully, a bit of Zir-Hath, but I don't know yet what's down there. It's something pretty scary, though. Something you don't want to know about. But no, there's no sort of huge civilizations or anything like that. Everything is pretty scary and monstery down there. Do the people of Tritonia know about Earth? Yeah, they do. They do. A lot of people came there from Earth. So things like Daimyo Katsumoto actually came from Japan. That's why there's Japanese armor, and why the people of Drakendir have that sort of mix of the Crusader look and the sort of Japanese samurai look. Chaos spent some time on Earth and, stole some ideas from the Roman Empire. So Brian of May actually be from the band Queen. Not officially, but yeah, kind of. Yeah, so they know about Earth. They can never get back to Earth. And, people from there are kind of a curiosity. But that's why, you see things like, handguns and so on. They're all based on Earth-like ideas and other civilizations. If the precursor races were capable of space travel, how did they manage to regress back to medieval-like technology? Was it because the Constellation Mirror's plan, Bargle's plotting, or something else? Well, when they went through the mirror, basically all their starships and so on was just burnt out and rendered useless. The automatons came to Brandor and Tritonia via different means. They actually flew there in their starships. But coming through the Constellation Mirror basically meant all your technology is just ruined, and they weren't able to recreate it using the materials on Brandor. Even though they had the technical know-how, it was basically lost to them within a few generations because they didn't have the materials. So it became useless, and so they had to just revert to sort of the more medieval ways. That's the theory anyway. A lot of time I kind of have to write that down. Do guinea pigs exist on Tritonia? Probably. I don't know. They should. Why not? Great questions, by the way. Okay, what we're going to do, we'll leave part 2 there, and we're going to jump to a part 3 after this. I want to show you quickly, for those who haven't seen the Sword and Sandals Immortals trailer. Let's check it out. Immortals, of course, is the next game in the Sword and Sandals series and the subject of many of our questions. even this trailer here is now a few months old, and the game has sort of developed quite a bit since then. But please wishlist this game. If you're interested in it in any way, I'd love you to wishlist it, because wishlisting helps me to get more views on Steam, and it helps their Steam algorithm say, this is a popular game, it's worth playing, check it out. So I really appreciate your wish lists, and I'm going to put a link in the description below. That's it for part 2. We're going to jump to a part 3, which I'll release in a few more days, and we'll get to the end of things. Thanks for your great comments. Have a brilliant day, and until next time, bye for now.